All right, very cool. We are going live now. Welcome to the third Hackathon Hangout. This will probably be the final Hackathon Hangout. Is all the audio working properly? It should be. Let me know if there are any problems there. And we will get started on doing this at some point. Anyone can join in to the live chat that I've left in the Solid Hackathon chat. And we'll see if anyone joins in. But for now, let's get coding. It's been a week since I have worked on this. It's been a pretty busy week, but we'll see if I can crack out everything today. Swipe is what we want to do. Let me make this a bit bigger so that everyone can see it. Bring up the code. Cool. So I have all these hooks here. Instead of filling out these hooks, I was thinking let's do a bit of UI work. That's going to make things a little bit easier. So we're going to create a layout with a logo, and that's going to have a login feature. Hey, Pavlik. How's it going? Oh, is my audio working? Let's see. If you are talking, Elf Pavlik, I can't hear you. Nope, he dropped off. Anyway, let's take a look at this. Hey, can you hear me? I still can't hear you. And it doesn't look like your icon has the little indicator that there's some talking. So I'm going to create a layout. I am going to create a header. And then there's going to be like a login. Ew. Pavlik is just jumping in and out. But I still can't hear him. He says something with his mic. All right, we'll wait for that mic to get adjusted. Okay, so we have this container. We want to, instead of this, we're just going to return use prepare profile on initial load. Actually, instead of having this in here, let's do, let's create a component called like parent. And this is going to contain all of our initial stuff that needs to be done. So export const parent is function component. Cool. Oh, I heard something from you, Elf Pavlik. Whether it is actual speech, I am not sure. Oh, it sounds like static. Oh, I hear some rustling now. Oh. Okay, so I'm moving this use prepare initial load over here. Except actually, I don't want to do that. Let's call this providers, or let's call it root. This is the root of the application, and app is going to just return root. We don't need styles anymore, at least in this one. Right. So root contains certain things that we need in LDO. It needs to be surrounded by the LDO provider, the solid LDO provider. And then I guess we could just put layout inside of here. No, Elf is back.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
Oh,
I can hear you now.
I need to reconnect my USB sound card.
That's good. I could hear a bunch of rustling and not much else.
Yeah, that must have been that. All right. How's it going? I see you are coding already.
Yep, I'm just doing some UI stuff, but obviously I can always be distracted as much as possible.
Keep on going, keep on going. I see
Yeah.
Tim have joined.
Hey
Hi,
Tim,
Tim.
Well,
how's it going? I'm going to use a library that I use a lot called UI Kitten, which is just a UI library that works with React Native. Makes things look nice.
it looks like you're not streaming in Jitsi this time, Jackson. You're only streaming on YouTube.
Was I ever streaming in Jitsi? I could also stream in Jitsi.
Last time you were, but it's
Oh,
fine.
was I? Yeah, I can do that.
No worries, just checking.
There we go. Do you see anything? Yeah,
Yep, I see UI kitten and a kitten with a jetpack on,
dope.
taking selfies.
Yeah, so I'm doing that. How's it going, Tim?
It's going. It's going. I'm making good progress on the app that Kenneth and I are working on.
Nice.
We were originally trying to build like a kind of note-taking app that could integrate with like a bunch of different features, like if you have a calendar on your pod and if you have like contacts list on your pod and all that kind of stuff, and just like basically fill out notes automatically. But then we weren't able to find a calendar app at all.
Oh,
So we're right.
any of the solid stuff. So the stuff in the meetings app didn't count enough towards calendar stuff.
It was iffy. I mean, the issue like we wanted a pretty I wanted a pretty robust calendar app
Yeah.
that could like do basically more or less what Google Calendar does. But if you're doing like a meeting, that requires like two people, right? So if you're so you can't really represent something like a birthday all that easily. And you also just don't. From what I saw of the meeting app, it didn't have like the actual grid display. It was basically just a list of meetings.
So what are you doing? What did you say you were doing now then?
Building out a calendar app
Okay.
using
So-
the schema.org event
Got it.
schema.
Got it. So now you'll just roll your own stuff, and I mean Schema is interoperable with. I'm sure something's using schema.org calendar.
Actually,
Yeah,
for the meetings thing, I'm also using Schema Event.
You're using schema event for the meetings?
Yeah.
Can you send me a link to that, Elf?
Yes, sure. Give me a sec.
Nice. Da, da, da. All right, I've just split this into root and subroot. Subroot is things like this, use prepare profile on initial load, needs the information from the solid LDO provider, so it needs to be in a separate component because the solid LDO provider is going to inject into the context the information that this function will require. So that is what I've done here. But we're just working on UI stuff. Are you using React, Tim, for your stuff?
I'm building out a web component. So
A
I'm using lit.
Got it. Cool. So you're using the solid LDO libraries rather than the
Correct.
solid React LDO libraries. Nice.
Correct.
Yeah. I look forward. I look forward to interviewing you on how you've dealt with LDO.
Yeah, it's an interesting library. I do like the strong typing.
Yes.
That does make things a bit cleaner.
You need to jump through some hoops in order to get to the strong typing, but eventually you do get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the hoops that you're talking about? that you
Oh,
have to
like
jump?
create a check shape and generate it and things like that.
Yeah, but like in the long run, for the interop, like different apps should use the same shapes, so it should not be the responsibility of app developer to actually create those shapes.
Right.
Hopefully. Yeah, assuming you were able to find the shapes easily enough.
That's good.
That can.
And hopefully in the future it's going to be a lot easier to do that.
Elf, do you work at Gennaro Digital?
Need a view.
No, but we've been collaborating on Side.js. I mean, they haven't been contributing for probably like a year, but when we started with it, like we've been collaborating on both the spec and the implementation. So that's why it's in the JD repo, the Side.js mono repo.
I
It's
see.
in their organization.
I see.
Nice. Setting up right now the theme provider, which is just something that's done in UIKitten in order to inject a theme. I'm not going to use the Eva light theme. I like the dark theme, so I'll be using the dark theme. Yeah. So Hackathon's almost over. We've got 1 weekend left. How's it feeling? How are you feeling about the 2-week hackathon? Did you participate in one of the past hackathons?
You talking to me? I have not.
Yeah.
This is my first one.
Nice.
It's definitely an interesting long-term thing. I think it's really good if you're working with like people who have a full-time job as well, and can only work in the evenings. I think 2 weeks is a good length of time for that. It does kind of result in like, it's definitely slower and more methodical than like a weekend rush to build whatever you can in 3 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for like I think for adults who have jobs, it's a nice setup.
Actually, this is shorter. This is in contrast to
Is
the
it?
Inrupt Hackathon, which I think was 3 weeks or maybe a month.
Oh really?
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, I think that like an online hackathon, especially with people in different time zones, it doesn't make sense to make this just a weekend thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about a month-long hackathon. I feel like whenever I'm developing a project, I need to set like if it's not done, if I can't get to a spot of done within 2 weeks, I'm not gonna finish it anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like if I were to do a month, I like after the first 2 weeks, I just forget about it or something. I'm not sure. That's just how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 2 weeks feels nice. I mean, I was personally busy throughout this week, so I'm hoping to get as much as I can done this weekend. Hopefully to
I was busy all last
final
week
product.
too. So I get that.
Yeah, it's I have
Have you not? How much time have you spent on your TikTok club?
only the amount of time that I've been doing these streams, so I guess a cumulative 4 hours, and
Yes.
part of that is just talking, so it's a kind of a distracted 4 hours. But once we're done with this stream, I'll devote time today to just work on it. I was talking with Elf Pavlik about something that I wanted to do later. Is I might use the corpse of this TikTok thing to do an audio-only version of TikTok, which I think would be nice. Tall Ted was saying, "Oh, it's basically LiveJournal." Got to bring that back. But I think it would be cool to, like, as an app that people are actually using. I don't know if people would be able to use this TikTok clone because it's streaming video on a CSS server, so I'm afraid of overloading things. But audio would probably be a little bit less intense. And I like the idea of having an app that I could just put in my pocket, go for a run, and then get 1-minute snippets of all my friends and like get mini podcasts, essentially, of things that are happening in their life. I think that would be fun.
This is an interesting idea. I, I do have some friends who don't send text messages anymore. They just send like audio recordings of themselves
There you go.
just talking. Yeah,
And then you can get
it's
your
actually
friends
nice.
to send audio
Dude.
recordings and put them on their platform, and then you just listen to them all in a row as if it's a podcast that stitched them all together.
Mhm.
Jackson, I think your TikTok clone will touch an old issue I had created a while ago
Uh-huh.
about having non-RDF sources, so like videos, images, like media, and different encodings. For example, you have 720p, 180p. So in theory, that's the kind of same video. You would have to same usually the same permissions and like when you like it, you don't like one resolution of the video. You like the video, so all the kind of social interactions will be on this kind of main video. But then you would have multiple encodings. So for example, if you want to
Yeah.
have audio, you could even just go like super low.
And if I so let's get activity pub, you're not going to link to the video itself. There's going to be an activity pub object, like a media object, and that's going to link to the raw video, which that could have. There could be multiple URLs for different encodings, but what you like is the object that represents that, the links to all the raw videos.
Schema.org has the same with the media object and then encoding of the media object. They again the primary things actually are the RDF resource, but the blobs are kind of auxiliary to it.
Right. Yeah. So that's the plan that I was going to go with.
Yeah, I think it's good, and then we should definitely like document this use case for the solid, like all the authorization part, because now, I would be curious how it's captured in a solid, that when you share access to the videos and so on, you automatically kind of apply it also to all those different encodings, so you don't have to like do it one by one or if the video itself is container. I don't see it clearly how it maps to the current solid way of structuring things.
In the past, what I've done, and this isn't necessarily interoperable, but I would just throw a lot of the media in the same container and then set the access control on that container. So like in the past, I built an app that has like a video, but it will also extract a thumbnail for that video, and both the thumbnail and the video would be in the same container, and you can just set access on that container.
Okay.
But that's like a business logic decision, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, the media object could be a container. Like, I mean, container can have a description besides the containment triples. So actually, if you do it this way, you could already like treat that the video is actually not the resource, it's a container, and then you set access on it that has the kind of default access for all the contained resources, and then you can have all the blobs in there with all the thumbnails, encodings, whatever, just audio version. Yeah, I think that could be one of the ways to approach that.
Yeah. Makes it though the problem, of course, as I said before, is that now you are depending on apps understanding that, hey, the business logic of the thing that created this actually wants you to set the access control on the container rather than the resource itself. So, and there's nothing to communicate that that's the business logic.
Yes, I think Shapetree will kind of aim to provide something for that.
You think so?
Yeah. So that'll be good use case to explore further as you have the working demo, and then we can see, okay, what if you want to do all those things? And again, for example, with Sai, the app itself would not set the access control. The authorization agent would do it. So also how to define it with the shape trees, and then, for example, another approach would be not to have a container like the video object. I mean, the RDF object could be one thing, and then there could be relation. Like for example, in schema.org, you would have a media object, which would be its own shape tree with its own data registration, and then there's a predicate media encoding that links to all the blobs, and then that could be a different registrations, and inside you could use inherited access to say, hey, give someone access to the video and all the binary kind of encodings of that video, and you just use
Right.
the inherited access inside.
That's cool. I didn't know about the inherited access. I am excited to see the demo of Side that you've been creating for this hackathon. Perhaps that'll clear some things up.
Yeah, so well, actually, in the end, I may not implement Side just because no one. I mean, again, you can only use it if you check out the repo, because there are no publicly available authorization agents, and you would pretty much manually have to bootstrap your registrations in your storages. So since that's not available, I think I will not for Monday I will not do it. Like maybe over next weeks I would add Sai and do that, but for Monday, for people just to play around with it, it will be just complicating things, because again, no one has authorization agent, data registries,
Right.
authorization registry, like all that stuff would have to be provided, and I will not be able to have it, by Monday.
Yeah. On a previous meeting that we were talking, Elf Pavlik was saying that you're just going to set up a special pod server for everyone to test it out on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make it clear that all the data will be deleted like after a few weeks, for example, and yeah, it's to play around, to click around, but it's just a kind of demo for you. Don't expect to use it like for real life situations yet. In the future, yes, but now it's just a demo.
Right.
Cool.
I imported the wrong LDO provider. I want specifically the browser LDO provider. Which is why that was a problem. Yeah, cool. Were you going to say something, Tim?
No, keep going.
Sorry, yeah, I'm juggling, bouncing back and forth between this. For some reason, I'm not experiencing any problems here, but it's not actually rendering the text that I have right here. So I'm just trying to figure out what I did wrong with that. Did I forget how to program in my own application? Da-da. So I do a browser solid LDO provider. Yep. That's here. Application provider and subroot. And this is layout. Is this causing a problem? Okay. I'm just going to put successive texts in here just to see what's causing this problem. Ba, ba, ba. So one of the new things that's not that wasn't in the InRupt hackathon is we now have a judging category for like UX usability.
You could try inspecting the page, see if that text is rendering at all.
Yeah. Well, it is rendering this layout here, but not anything inside of it. So if I do, text is coming from UI Kitten.
There is hello, but it doesn't show up. What?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just white text on white background.
Oh, is it saying hello? Oh, it does say
It's
hello.
appearing there, yeah. Oh yeah. The text itself is white.
Okay.
It's
Well,
RGB 255 255 255. So that's the problem. It's white text on white background.
thanks for noticing that. And that still holds true here. We got body, root.
Tim, are you one of the white space developers?
I wish I was that good.
Jackson, do
Someday
you remember
maybe.
this programming language, white space? That was only the syntax was only white spaces.
Oh, that sounds horrible. So what? That's like spaces, return lines, um,
Tabs.
yeah, tabs,
Tabs.
things.
Yep. My first job out of college, I worked for a company that had like a code base that they started writing in the 1970s, and they were still using like the original ASCII delimiters for all of their files. So like they were using like ASCII characters values like 3 and 4 to like delimit groups and then delimit items because there are like actual ASCII characters for that kind of stuff in there, and they don't print at all.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, I didn't stay there very long.
Uh, let's see. Yeah, it's stylesheet.create. Yeah, okay, it makes sense that that was white because I swapped it to dark mode, but I didn't provide like the background element that makes it dark. Or actually, stylesheet comes from React Native. How did you meet the? Sorry, who's your partner for the hackathon? What was his name again?
Kenneth.
Kenneth. Yeah. How did you meet Kenneth?
Kenneth Lee. He dropped a message in the hackathon chat.
Oh, cool.
He said, "Anybody want a partner?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?"
Perfect.
And then we just set up meetings to talk about it.
We want this container to be flex 1. I think that should be fine. Sheet, oh, styles.flex, styles.container. And now if I have hello inside of here, now, and I have to import layout from UIKit. And now, everyone, moment of truth. Oh. I called this layout. We'll call this main layout instead. Main layout and main layout. Okay, so now it's time for the moment of truth. Nope, I'm still having the same problem. But it's not actually rendering anything for some reason. Do I have errors? Resource was blocked due to a MIME type application JSON. That's wild. Oh, okay. It did not like this. Oh, because I didn't save everything. There it is. There we go. Now we can see hello on a dark background. Why is there a purple? Is that just because of the inspector? It is. It is just because of the inspector. Okay, cool. I have done it now. Okay, let's create a header. Component. Two. Do you mostly work in kind of app development, Tim, or backend stuff?
I've been really doing full stack my entire career, so every company that I've worked at has made me do everything from front to back. A lot of React stuff, and then a lot of just SQL.
But you're doing web components now for this hackathon project. Do you prefer web components?
Honestly, I'm using it as an excuse to learn web components.
There you go. How would you rate it?
And uh, I think they're really cool. Lit itself is a little bit finicky, coming from at least coming from React. Uh, but now that I've gotten through it, it's the component itself runs a lot faster than the React app that I've written for Solid before, using the same libraries, which I found pretty surprising. And since this is about interoperability, I wanted to create a component that could be used across different frameworks, which is hard to do if you're using like Vue or React out of the box.
Yeah, that's really
So
cool. I recall I used to work a little bit with Polymer before the lit element was developed, and then when they made the lit, I was also like doing some experiments with lit. It's been quite few years ago, and I usually use just material design for things, and at that time the material design components were like super early, but I believe they like 1.0 or 1 point something, and they're actually built on top of lit from what I remember.
yeah, I did see. I thought I saw one library that was like material-ish, but it was definitely they were still missing a few components from it. That's probably been the thing that I've noticed the most, Elf, is that like just the component libraries for web components seem to be less robust than like for React or Vue. But if do you know of like other library? Do you know of like web component libraries like that are good?
So I think there was, what's the name of it? It's been a while. So I think the material design that's actually are from the material design team. That's their official web components, I believe.
Okay.
They make it with web components and lit. But there was at least another one, like a UI library that was using web components. I would need to look, but I remember there was at least one big one using it.
Okay. Yeah, I've been able to find a couple. One that was called Shoelace, which I was having trouble getting Shoelace set up properly. If I spent some more time with it, I could probably figure it out. Cool. I will take a look at the material design. See what I can find here.
For web components?
Okay. Yeah, material web components in 2024. Here we go. Yeah, here's what I think, Elf, you're talking about. Cool. I will take a look into using this library more.
Yeah, I think that's the one. So I was playing with it when they were like 0.2 or something like that, super unstable, missing most of it. But yeah, I think now they should be production ready.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks like they just opened up last year.
Very cool. Okay, so for login components, there's a few things that you need. You need a button to log in. I think that I'm just going to do a solid server. I'm just going to. I guess I'll just have a modal that pops up that lets you enter in your login. Yeah. So I'll just have a button. Yeah, cool. Very good. So, have there been any struggles with shape-based things?
I think at least for us, it's just the lack of familiarity with checks at all. And there's, as far as like tutorials are concerned, there aren't too many tutorials about it, which means that we kind of just need to trudge through the quick start document to figure out how everything works. Other than that, I think we haven't had too much trouble. It is a little bit. Sometimes we have forgotten, like if we update the shucks file, to rerun the build, the LDO build, and that has caused a few bugs every now and then. So if there's a way to simplify that process, either like automatic build detection or automatic change detection or something like that, that could help a bit too.
I guess if there were, as a part of the CLI, a script that just said, like you could watch this file, would that be fine? Or I guess you would also forget to run the script as well.
If there's a build watch, or if like that would definitely be more useful, or that would definitely improve things. Because then we only need to remember to run the script once instead of run the script every time we make a change.
Yeah.
If there were also a way to just use the shucks file directly, dynamically as the code runs, that would also be very useful. Although I don't know how you'd get the type checking in that case, since the type checking is run statically.
Yeah. So you basically do need to have a build system in order to do the type checking. Or like, I guess you could imagine a plugin for VS Code that automatically is able to do that in Transit Pilot. But I'll say I'll have other things on my list before I do that.
Yeah, there may be some way to dynamically initialize types with TypeScript or something like that like before the compiler runs, but I don't know TypeScript well enough to know how to do that.
Inside JS, I use TurboWatch to like reload my services and just build all the packages, because there are dependencies within monorepo, so sometimes I change lower package and I want my service to restart, which is kind of 2 dependencies higher, so I just go with I have a little TurboWatch script for that.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, if the problem is that we keep forgetting about running the build script, then you can also have the same problem with forgetting to run the watch script.
Well, no, I mean, if you can configure that, you have just npm dev, and that runs both your dev server and the watch script. You just have the same command.
I've done some. Is this kind of similar to concurrently? Does it just run a bunch of things? Oh, okay, it's not quite the same as concurrently. Okay.
Nice.
I went with this one because we started using Turbo Repo, and this one seemed like have been built to address the issue with Turbo Repo not having watched like that. So that was the main reason we picked this one up.
I see.
I'm going to pass in a size. Login button props, and we are going to let this pass in a size. So what I'm doing right now, just for context, is I've got a login button here. I am also going to have it so that if you're not logged in, this screen right here just has a big swipe.io login, and I will change the size based on whether we're on the home screen or not. But they'll both pop up a modal. Very good. So how much progress would you say that you both have on your project? Probably more than what I currently have, right?
Well, let me send you a screenshot of what we've got right now.
Ooh, a sneak peek.
Can I just drop this in the chat? Nope, can't do that. Okay. How can I send you? I will send you one on Element. Then.
Yes, I can bring it up here.
You see, myself, I started from the other side. So I first got the UI working, and then added LDO, and now I will actually add authentication. So I was kind of like, I wanted to see something displaying on the screen and then do the plumbing, which I've done multiple times. So
Yep. That makes sense. I did the opposite way. Or, well, actually, no, I'm not doing it the opposite way. I've hardly gotten any of the plumbing set up. So I just haven't done anything. Look at me.
someone was distracting you on the stream. I wonder
Who's doing
who.
that? Who's doing that?
Lucky there are no recordings preserved, so no one will know.
That's not true. You're not getting off scot-free, Elf Public. Did he say? Oh, ooh! Look at this calendar. Here, let me show that here.
Yeah.
That looks like a professional calendar there. Am I looking at Google Calendar right now?
So we've gotten to the point where we're able to add events for like days, weeks, and hours. Create, read, update, and delete. We're working on being able to import existing calendars right now.
Wow. So you're just going to
after-
parse iCal stuff?
Luckily, we have a library, full calendar, which handles all of that for us. That is the display that you're seeing right now. That entire UI setup is a library that we imported.
That's very cool.
And so we can just use that to import an iCal file and display that, and add it to parse all of that into schema.org events and store that in pod. And then after that, we're going to work on like inviting people to like adding attendees and adding organizers.
Oh, I have this part working.
That's a lot of features.
Yeah, that part working.
Yeah. Just I went a little more specific, like how we do it in community groups. So for the meeting, you also can assign a chair who will be chair on the meeting, and
Okay.
from the list of attendees, you can select one of them as a scribe who will be scribing the meeting. So it's some additional functionality there.
You may have to walk me through your code after this, so I can see how much of that we can steal from you.
Yeah, sure. The link I've sent you here on Jitsi, it's the branch that has it. Yeah.
Okay.
But
How
again,
Go ahead.
it's not the kind of final code, because the final one should use Psi. But again, no one will be able to play with it if I do it with Psi at this moment. So I do it in keeping in mind that it will have to change eventually to actually have all the proper authorization and all that part.
Okay.
And also, what I do, what's most likely different than you do, I use the schema role, which is a qualified relation. So there is not like attendee doesn't link directly to a person. It links to this kind of qualified relation, and then this links to person, because I want to have a granular access control. So for example,
you're using the role attribute for that, or the role structure for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as I understand it, schema.org, that's a kind of like a general qualified relation.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't done that yet, but I agree that would definitely make the data model stronger. Right now we're just having it linked directly to a person, but yeah, linking it to a role which links to a person is definitely a smarter way to do it.
If you look at the README in this plenary repo, I put some requirements. And for example, I would like that attendees can add themselves to to a meeting, but I don't want them to change the date or the name of the meeting. So given solid resource level access control, I decided that I want to separate those resources. So so there's still this aspect that you would need at least to append to the event itself. But I think in the future there should be a little more powerful ways of managing that you are able to add yourself as an attendee, but for example not change the description of the meeting itself. You could already kind of do that with containers, but again, you cannot have you just have LTP contains predicate. You cannot have those specific relations that I would like to use. So for me, this exercise is also something that I would bring as an input to the general authorization work in Solid as a simple example of something that it's simple but requires more than we have available at this moment.
That makes sense. Have you used the schema.org event structure has an organizer field on it? You're not using that for meeting chair? I guess that's different from chair.
I think I use that to. I'm not sure if I'm using that at this moment, but yeah, it could be similar. But I definitely there's definitely no scribe, so I need to use like a custom properties anyhow. So I just went with chair. So organizer, I think organizer could be also the organization, solid community group. So now I just rely on it that it's in the pod owned by the solid community group, like in my demo snippets, or Acme actually in my snippets. But I could probably add Acme as an organizer to the event itself. Maybe I have it. Let me see. Maybe actually I have it.
I appreciate we have somebody here who's still writing out all his code by hand instead of using GitHub Copilot to write for him.
Yeah, I never got comfortable with using GitHub Copilot. I tried it a couple times, and I'm just, I just never got used to it. I guess maybe I could try it again. Are you using Copilot for a bunch of stuff?
No, I actually agree with you. I tried using it for a little while, and it was good for like it's good 80% of the time, but then like 20% of the time I'd end up with like a very, very esoteric bug in the code that it gave me. And I spent more time trying to track down that bug in the 20% of cases than I saved in the 80% of cases, I felt. Or it at least made no difference overall. So I kind of just stopped using it and just began configuring more code snippets in my actual text editor.
Yeah, I guess I'm not even doing that. I'm just writing it out.
Hey, whatever works, whatever floats your boat.
It's just what I got used to. Yeah, perhaps. Go ahead.
I recall like back in the days, like I don't know what it was, I think 2007 or something. There was this screencasting project, Peep Code. I was doing Rails at that time and using TextMate. And I remember I was watching, he was doing interview with someone. I think it was that. And the guy was saying he doesn't use snippets because as he types something simple, he has time to think in that time. So actually he likes to have this kind of, let's say, idle, like automatic typing time to work on his thoughts, and snippets will actually just interrupt his flow.
Interesting. I can see that.
What do I want? 32. That's a great font size. Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps for me, my excuse is I'm just lazy and not adopting new technologies. I could pontificate about how much my coding style is superior to everyone else's, but I think that it would only be that pontification. All right.
I twice a week do remote pair coding, and my friend who I code with, he's using Copilot. So like every now we swap which day who's coding, and I find it quite annoying actually. The Copilot sometimes, instead of like thinking what we want to write, we like try to figure out if it's correct what the Copilot has written, and I think sometimes actually it's throwing off the flow if you just try to figure out what the AI was thinking, and if that makes sense.
Yeah, you gotta become the AI. You
Yeah.
just haven't gotten the skill yet.
Yeah, I agree. Copilot works really well if you're like doing very monotonous, basically template-like code. Um, and in but in that case, you could also just write out the template yourself. A lot of times, if I'm doing anything more complex than a template, like if I'm trying to use a brand new library interacting with a decentralized file storage system, um, it's going to have some hard time figuring out what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, right. It's probably pretty good at React, but new libraries needs a bit of training.
Yeah, it's also terrible at anything other than JavaScript and Python.
That's what most of GitHub is. Background style is going to be like, yeah. All of this, what I'm doing, I'm just setting up the login system. Not doing anything fancy yet. Let's see. RGBA 0, 0, 0.5. All right, you're going to give me a good background. Right. Nope, no, it's not. Let me remind myself how to do background colors then for modal. That's background color. Oh, I didn't end it in a parenthesis. There we go. We want this to be dark. And now, if you press login and you do that, it will go away. Beautiful. And we also want to say, bring in the session. You know, I'm spending all this time setting up the login stuff, but the things that I built into LDO make this a lot easier than it was using the raw interrupt library, I'd say. Is everyone ready to lose their job to AI?
Yeah, if it can do the same results, like I'm more than happy you have time for other things. I find it
I'm a
quite interesting. People talk about automation, like getting crazy, but hey, like let's make work week 20 hours, not 40, and let the automation do all the job that it's not requiring human effort. So I think it's just a matter how we actually control it as a more, society, not just some, evil corporations. But other than that, I'm quite happy to remove repetitive tasks.
Yeah, well, that's not how the economy works. You gotta serve investors. Unfortunately. Yeah, I think that one of the things that would be interesting to do on Solid in the future is to do some self-ownership AI, so that AI isn't all just owned by investors. I know that there's some
Yeah.
research going on in some UK universities on that. Might be some grant applications upcoming.
Yeah, I think there's AI right now can really only be effectively created by giant companies with huge amounts of venture funding. I think if we expect AI to last for any length of time, that's going to need to change.
Let's do as our default. Let's do solid web.me. Does anyone else know of other CSS deployments that exist?
Has solid community.net moved over to the pivot configuration yet? I thought they did that recently.
Let's find out. Nope, seems to be still Node Solid Server.
Still running Node Solid Server. Okay.
So solidweb.me is going to be our best option.
Who runs that?
Matthias.
Okay.
Same guy who runs solidweb.org, which is still on NSS. So solidweb.me is running the CSS.
Interesting.
Although it's version 6.0.
Yeah, I hope you don't need webhooks.
Not right now.
Oh yeah, did webhooks get added to CSS?
Yeah, 7 has the new WebSockets webhooks, and now I work on the streaming HTTP channel type for CSS.
Streaming HTTP. Interesting.
It's comparable to WebSockets, just everything over HTTP.
Okay.
Well, we will point to this for now, because I don't need webhooks, at least right now.
I haven't had a chance to use webhooks yet, but I'm hoping to give them a go. How easy are they to use? How do you use them?
So it's pretty easy. You just create a subscription. So the important part that you need to have some kind of server-side component that will be the notification receiver, because you need to provide a callback endpoint where, whenever notification has to be delivered, it will be, the sender will make a request to that endpoint. So you need to have something online to receive HTTP requests. And other than that, you just create a subscription, and then whenever there's a notification, you will get the request to that endpoint, and you can do whatever you need with it.
Is there to the input, is there a trigger for I pressed enter? On submit, maybe? Yes. On submit editing.
I think on submit is the general one.
Yeah, but
You also do on key down.
I think you need a form for that, no?
Yeah. Well, this is in React Native, so it's going to become a little bit different. So if I do this, nope, it's not logging that. Input on enter button. Guess I could just look at the API. We've got on change text focus blur placeholder. And then the text input. What events exist on text input? Okay, on blur, on change text, on end editing, on press in, on press out, on key press, on layout, on selection change, on submit editing.
What's that on submit editing?
Well, I tried putting it here to see if I could
Oh,
get
okay.
this to log. I mean, I could just make it a button. Yeah, it's not logging anything when I submit here. Like, I will also include a button here that's got like a login icon on it. Let's see. I gotta do accessory left, or let's do accessory right. Then we gotta do props icon. And you have to pass the props. What was that platform you were talking about where you just watch other people code, Elf Public?
Oh, that was like the early screencasts back in 2007 or something. So it was mostly for Ruby on Rails, and then once Node appeared, Node.js, they were also doing some Node. It was called Peepcode. I don't know if it's still active, but that was quite popular at that time.
Really? People liked peeping at each other coding?
I guess so.
I guess like you're doing with me. Am I entertaining at all? I don't know.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it wasn't live
Extremely.
streams.
Extremely, indeed. Oh,
It was heavily edited, screencast. So, like in 20 minutes, you could get quite a lot of, just the concentrated kind of
got it.
information.
Well, I could edit this all together and it'd be like I built an app in a week, and then
There are a lot of
and post
there are a lot of programmers on Twitch who are streaming and doing pretty well with that.
Yeah, what do they do to keep it entertaining?
I don't know. I don't watch them, but I know Jonathan Blow is a video game maker. Does it a lot and is able to has a pretty big following on his streams.
Oh, I bet video
And
games would be interesting because you're like, especially if you're doing building worlds or something.
yeah, he also just like dunks on programming a lot and calling programmers incompetent and saying that C++ is the best language and all that kind of stuff.
Nah,
And I
Rust.
think
Rust is the best language.
I think he's popular for that. I need to get back to Rust. Once I finish this project, once I finish this hackathon, I'm gonna try to pick up another Rust project.
Yeah, I want to have a Rust solid auth library, because really that's the main thing that holds you back from doing something in a language for solid is the auth library, because a lot of languages already have RDF libraries and Rust has one. But the auth stuff is the thing that is like the big barrier to entry.
Yeah. Michel Dejong dropped a message in Solid App Development today about wanting a new Solid Auth library. It's community maintained.
For what language?
Well, he says in browser, so probably JavaScript.
JavaScript?
But
oh, does he not like the nrep one?
I guess not.
I mean, I feel like
I think he says he wants the one that's community maintained.
Yeah.
He wants one that's both fresh and community maintained. By fresh, I'm assuming he means up to date.
True.
Yes, so there is no up-to-date, including in draft, since currently Solid IDC requires you to actually use access tokens from the authorization server associated with the resource server. So all this stuff now it's like pre 0.1 Solid IDC. Nothing implements 0.1 at this moment.
Oof. So like how? So when did Solid OID? What's this change from WebID OIDC to Solid OIDC? Is that like
I think the
leasing or?
Depop before I think it was just the pop, but now it's Depop. And other than that, I do not remember all it. But like one of the big changes is that it doesn't use anymore the global access tokens. It uses a global ID token and then uses something like UMA server, authorization server, to push it as a claim and then receive access tokens. So then, each security domain would have their own access tokens instead of having this, I think, bit awkward global access token that currently Solid IDC has, and I think WebID OIDC had the same kind of global access token.
All right, let's see if that works.
Sounds like there's space for a Rust library that implements solid OIDC.
Yeah, the question is funding to maintain it, because
Yep.
like even LDO has some sporadic funding going for it.
Yep.
Because especially
Not
for an
always the
auth
case.
library, like you need an auth library needs to constantly be
Yeah.
updated, or else you're going to have security problems. Although having a nice nonprofit organization in Solid would be nice to have. That could fund things like that.
So if you want to have a Rust library, you would use it on a server. It wouldn't run in the browser. So in that case, I'm thinking, are you talking about user authenticating with the like the RP, the client, or you talk about the Rust client making authorized requests to the resource server?
I'm just looking for an excuse not to have to write JavaScript.
Say again?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Rust would be the client making requests to the resource server. So I could
I think
build a program in Rust that lets me do that.
So my point is that probably we would only need the solid IDC part that the user authenticates to that Rust client, because I think from there probably we don't want to use solid IDC, because the Rust client can authenticate with the authorization server to something like just the public JOT and just have a signed JOT, and then when you access the authorization, the resource server, you actually care about the authorization, and the authorization would capture, on whose behalf the client is accessing, like who authorized the client to do that. So I think it's not really just about having solid IDC in Rust. I think it's about having all those kind of other elements in place and see which one is appropriate in which interaction.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was distracted with something else. It's not appropriate having everything in just having everything in Rust and figuring out in what place makes sense for the interactions. Yeah, because a lot of it is based on redirects and stuff. So I could imagine that one thing that you could have, one library that you could have, is a Rust library that's sort of like the Node.js implementation of the library, where it just has a bunch of functions that you will call when you receive certain requests. So like if you receive the callback request, then pass it to this function. Or to trigger the login process, do this function, and it gives you a redirect URI that you need to manually send back using your library. So like this would be specifically, I have a server that is written in Rust that is receiving and sending requests. Then you could also have like libraries that are, and then you could use the same library to, even if I don't have a server that's doing things, I could have, like, let's say I've got a Rust app, like I've got a game written in Rust, but it still is giving you the proper redirect URL to use, and then taking in like the auth token so you trigger the function, it gives you the redirect URL, and then asks you, hey, Rust program, go create a web browser and do this. When it has redirected back, give me the URL that it redirected back to, and then I can get an auth token from you. And that would all work well. Like, you would still do the login in the web browser. But now you can have auth requests in Rust.
Yeah, I've seen recently a talk about security in OAuth and OIDC, and one of the kind of conclusions, actually I posted in the Solid chat, one of the conclusions was to stop handling access tokens in JavaScript. So pretty much saying you should probably have a backend like Rust or whatever, and yeah, just have the redirect pointing to that, so it gets the authorization code, do all the token exchange and so on. But the browser probably would be just used for the user to get the consent. But after that, like, you don't want to deal with those things in JavaScript. So yeah, I think having something in Rust would be great.
Yeah, I kind of, as a side project, I kind of just want to make a game in Rust. And I would love I don't know when I'd ever get around to this because I'm too busy doing other stuff. But I've had a dream. If you have you ever played like SimCity, or City Skylines is the modern incarnation of it?
Yeah.
So I think that we have enough RAM right now to do massive cities, like huge, say even like New York level metro areas, which isn't possible to do in. It wasn't possible to do in SimCity 4 because we were limited by RAM, and isn't possible to do in City Skylines, which is the modern incarnation, because in City Skylines they're actually simulating every resident of the city, like as they go on the road and things like that. And what I would like to do is have a memory efficient program, which is why my choice would be Rust. It's just easier for me to manage memory. And that I'm sure that like if I were smarter, then I could also do it in C. But I am not smarter, so I'm depending on Rust. And then I'd want to have I would use the SimCity 4 method of simulation rather than the City Skylines method of simulation, where SimCity 4 kind of just glossed over stuff. It would like run the simulation once for a day, and then like if I had a resident, it would say, hey, that resident needs to go to this workplace. It runs it once, and then that just gets added to a traffic model. And that's a lot more memory efficient than calculating every decision of every resident every day. So I think that I would love to see how big of cities we could get with this. But another aspect of it, and this is where Solid comes in, I would love to have a system where people can design buildings in their city, and then they can put it up on a Solid pod and share it with all their friends. And then buildings that people design for their city can show up in their friends' cities. Anyway, that would be like a pipe dream of something I would want to build. It would take forever to build, but I'd be excited.
That'd be interesting. I really like that idea of like sharing buildings. That would actually be even just starting off. That would be a cool City Skyline 2 mod where you just like you install a mod that like literally just accesses a database of user submitted buildings. And they will just be like randomly built in your city as you play, and then you can like design another building for it. That would be really cool. I'd like that.
It's like I don't know if like growing up in the early 2000s at the kind of height of Maxis level things. The idea comes from Spore, which was a Maxis game that where you could make creatures, and then your creatures could show up on your friends' planets. Or the buildings that you design for your civilizations could show up on your friends' planets, or the spaceships that you design could show up. I think that was really fun. That was the most fun I had with Spore, and I like city builders, so it would be cool to have a more in-depth city builder where those things just show up, and you'd be able to control it. Like if your friend's building stuff that's a little too wacky for you, then you could say, okay, we're not doing this. But you could like subscribe to different packages. Like people could put things in different packages. Like here's my Mediterranean package with all the Mediterranean buildings that I've designed.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to have like that metro-sized city as like an MMO, where you like get a district of the city to build, and then
Oh,
your
it could
friend
be.
gets a different district of the city to build, and like that's how you get to the metro scale while still having the detail.
Yeah, it could be multiplayer. Like the way that I'd imagine it is kind of like how a lot of creative Minecraft servers, like you've got the land on Minecraft and anyone can build on it, but creative Minecraft servers will have systems to kind of apportion land for different
Yeah,
people, and then you could say, all right, this is my country or something, or my municipality, but
yeah,
the simulation would bleed over into other people's municipalities, so like people could go work in other people's cities, and goods can come from other people's cities, things like that.
be really fun to figure out how to take control of the economy of a municipality that you don't have access to by using those systems. That would be like the first thing people do.
Go like oh, I somehow have manipulated the system to give everyone just a massive demand in my city, a massive demand for copper or something. Like they just need so much copper, and it drains everyone else's copper supplies. So where'd all my
Yep,
copper go?
exactly. There we go. Or oh, I bought up all of the land around your municipality, so you can't get access to any of your other resources without going through me.
Get a Eswatini situation going.
Yep.
Have you guys read the novel Demon and Freedom, the sequel?
No, I haven't. What's it a sequel to?
No, the Freedom is a sequel to Demon. That
Oh,
the
okay.
story ends, so it's like across two books. But it has some quite nice kind of this AIs and kind of cyberpunk vibes. But some of the things, like for example, like how people build things using augmented reality and have this kind of overlays when they interact and can plan together. I think it's quite neat. I don't remember all the details, but I recall back in when was that, 2000 maybe 13, something like that, with some friends we were experimenting, like building some kind of prototype that was using OpenStreetMaps. And at that time we were using just like experimenting with different distributed technologies. We had a plugin for remote storage that Miguel was working with and hosted on, and we're trying to do this kind of collaborative way of working with OpenStreetMaps and do some planning, and that everything is kind of geolocated, and you could
Ooh.
do things like using OpenStreetMap data and have it on your devices. But at that time, there was not really good technologies for that. But I hope with Solid we may have something that could actually make things like that possible.
Ooh. I would love to have integrations with Open Street Maps. Because conceptually it feels like it would work very well together. Alright. So we've got login, and then we are going to put the issuer. Alright. We are finally at the point where we can log in. Hopefully. Let's see. And yep, there we go. We're logged in. But we should make it so that it doesn't actually show anything in the main layout. If we're currently in the process of logging in. Session dot. Oh, sorry. What does useSolid auth return again? It returns Ran initial auth check. So if we ran the initial auth check and that, then this should do that. Okay. That shows up.
One
Hello.
thing I see problematic with the state of art is that everyone's currently using dynamic client registration
Yes.
instead of using client IDs.
Yeah, which makes it harder to do access control on client IDs.
Yeah, you pretty much cannot do proper authorization for the clients this way.
Login functions. Yeah. We're going to need to do what do you feel about the INREP library? Is it not doing a good enough job keeping up with the state of the art, in your opinion, of public?
Well, I posted a link to an issue here in the Jitsi chat, the one interrupt. So this Solid IDC 0.1 has been released over a year ago, and there's like nothing implementing. I think maybe the Keycloak OpenID provider, it's probably the only one. In Java, okay, the Java client from Interrupt, I think does it, but not the TypeScript one.
Mm-hmm.
So also when you talk about Rust, probably it would be good to look how the Java client is doing that. I don't know if it's Aaron working on that, but that's probably the only client that actually implements the 0.1 of Solid IDC.
So why isn't
again, it's a...
Mm-hmm. Why isn't the JavaScript getting updated?
Well, I'll ask Hadrian to check with Nicholas, and I think they were discussing that. So I want to get maybe some feedback from Hadrian once they have a time to talk about it. It seems like it's not a priority for Interrupt at this moment.
Okay, their clients. All their clients are fine with the current dynamic client registration stuff, I guess.
Or they use Java.
Or they use Java. Yeah, I think everybody's using Java, but it looks like they pushed updates a couple weeks ago, so there is some activity on the JavaScript library.
And I think one problem with how we approached it with Solid, we're like so, like committed, authentication authorization has to be completely orthogonal and so on. But in the end, I pointed in few issues that the authentication is kind of dependency authorization. In the end, you want the client to make authorized requests to the resource server. And sometimes as a kind of side effect of authorization, you also get the identity of the user and so on. So in the end, like authorization is the priority and authentication is sometimes just one of the elements. And again, if you work with VCs and maybe you just require membership credential instead of identity of the user itself, then you don't even need authentication in that way. So I think we messed up that we focus so much on separate authentication and don't look at it as just kind of one of the aspects of authorization, that the authorization is the goal, authentication is like one of the elements that can play a role or maybe doesn't play a role, depends on the access policies.
Mm-hmm.
But the step we did with OIDC, I think was important one, that we say, okay, there will be authorization server that you can do claims pushing. And that's what Nicholas refers to, this kind of reactive authorization, that you don't assume that you have to push ID token by default. You maybe make a request and then you get response saying, hey, you have to provide those claims to continue. And one of those claims can be ID token, but another one may be actually some kind of access grant or something like that, that you if you get an access grant for something from something like authorization agent, it can also include your identity. So you don't have to then put your ID token and access grant, because your access grant already have those two identities that you would have in ID token, plus the authorization details that the end user gave for the client. So in that case, we pretty much don't need ID token at all. And we pretty much don't use, in that case, IDC anymore. So I think we made a big strategic mistake of trying to separate it too much too early.
Oh yeah, I guess I've been out of it. Perfectly willing to migrate if we ever do get a compatible library.
And I think with the FedCM now getting working group, I think it will also probably have a pretty good impact on how we deal with authentication, at least, and possibly we may want to base it around FedCM, especially when it's happening in the browser.
Let's see. I need a feed. I need a feed page. I need a friends page. And what else do I need? I need like a is that it? Maybe create post, like upload. You need an upload page. Yeah, that makes sense. Or maybe like
And
posts.
the
Like it's a history of your posts.
where do you do with the list of people that like registered with the hub to make their feeds kind of discoverable?
Yeah, that would be the friends page, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. You can search for that. Like my posts.
Yeah, well, on Monday, do you expect people to have any friends on Monday?
On April 1st? No,
Because
on Monday. No, Monday's a horrible day. No one has friends on Monday.
Because as I recall, the friends it's when you follow someone, no? But to follow someone, you first need to discover them. So I recall you mentioned on Friday that you will have this kind of list somewhere that the people will be asked, hey, do you want to add yourself to this public list of users
Yeah.
of that app? And that's how you can initially discover, and later you can follow people, but first you need to discover them somehow.
Right. So yeah. That's what the friends page would be.
I gotta drop off, guys, but thanks for having this hangout.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Take care.
See ya. Oh yeah, so the friends page is where we would discover it. We would discover people. Do I need like React Router or something? Should I set up a router for these different pages? Nah. Yeah, nah. I'll just put it in the header. Be lazy.
Yeah, find navigation quite interesting with Solid, and since everything has an IRI, I tend to use query parameters and just throw those IRIs in the query parameters.
Right. For this app, do I want to do that? Or do I just want this to be like a feed of things?
I wouldn't do it before Monday because you don't want to have like a view of just one post, no? There are not like comments on it and stuff.
Yeah. It can just be a feed.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother now. Yeah.
So we'll have a top tabs. Tab bar. That'll be in here. Can I have an accessory on this? Yes, I can. We'll get rid of this for now. So an accessory right, I'll just do icons.
Look, we made a full circle from the hieroglyphs in Egypt. We go to emojis and icons.
It works. English is too long.
I mean, I also tend to use icons heavily, especially that to internationalize it later. Like, the icons are kind of international. You still need to add some labels at some point, but just to get started, it's universal language.
Yeah. I'm not using Font Awesome though, so I don't have as much of a selection of icons. What would be a good icon for feed? Maybe like a video. Like film. It's where I watch the film.
Sounds good.
So, props. Feed or name is this film outline. It does not like that. Not assignable to does not exist on. Is it because? Does this require a title? No? Icon is from UI Kitten. Okay. Props, tab props, read only, tab, give the following error. Accessory right is not. Man, I love it when they do this complicated stuff. Okay. So this is tab props here. Tab props has children title, icon selected, and on selected, but it extends tab styled props, touchable web props. Where is accessory left coming from here? Wait. Okay, so it is possible to do this with just icons. Person icon. It's got props and it returns the icon. So what is up? Use tab bar
So
state.
I don't see an accessory. I don't see accessory, just uses icon.
Oh, it just says icon. True, yeah. Got it. Okay. Header. There we go. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay. So we want friends. So that's like person. Yeah, 2 people. Sounds good. People. So this will be the friends tab, and then we will have the like my personal. Is that kind of like settings? Like the list of all of my things. What is this? It's a stack. Layers? I guess it could just be a list. Like a list.
Yeah. You can always change it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. That's lovely. Everyone loves that. Okay. No spacing. No one likes. Everyone hates spacing. Okay. Let's say tab bar. This one is specifically going to flex align self to stretch. That did nothing. Cool. And then I want... Actually, we should include the tab bar. This should be inside of a view, and that view has a width to it. So there is a tab bar container, which has a width of, let's say 200 and a height of 50. And that is going to get all the dimensions stretched out. It's gonna look a little better. I'm going for the UX award. Okay, it's a little better.
Yeah, 20 points.
Not as great. The background of this is the wrong color, though. Okay, this... Now you get to just watch me.
Yeah, I often tend to like get things working and then leave it for the end polishing it, because sometimes it takes much longer than I had anticipated to play with all the CSS and flexes and grids and what have you.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's fine to play around with that right now. Let's also give this a height of 50. See if we can get that going. Actually, can we just do... There we go. Aha, interesting. So the tab bar itself, does this have level? Does it have like layout? Okay, its background color needs to be the same as this level. But this right here, there's something below this. How thick is this item? So the tab bar itself is 50, so it's 4. So actually we're going to make the tab bar 46, and that we'll put it in the right position. And actually we don't need this view. Okay, so that's in the right position, but we want the background color to be different.
Can you enable mobile view just to see how it would look on mobile devices?
Yeah, that's great. Everyone loves that. I guess I could put that.
I tend to.
Yeah, I could put it at the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, bottom nav could be okay. Yeah.
We're doing bottom tabs. Ba, ba, ba. So instead of it being in the header, we put it at the bottom. Flutter.tsx. And crap, did I get rid of this? Let's just get these so that I can transfer this over to the footer. And bottom navigation tab. Icon. And in the main layout, we will put in the footer. Very good. And we redirect, we log in. Okay, well, technically, that kind of works. We just need the content itself to have a flex to it. So let's say that the footer is going to have interface on change, or sorry, footer props, and it's going to have an on change, which is a function that returns, takes some void, but it will return new page. Do I want to do it this way? Or let's just have it accept page name, which we'll have in the main layout type page name is either a feed or friends or my posts. Those are the 3 pages. Then we've got, let's get rid of this, cur page, set cur page is a use state of page name. We're going to set its default to feed. Then we will say that let cur component equal to switch cur page or actually const page map. This is a record of page name to a React or like a function component. Yep. And that will say that we've got feed. Feed maps to feed. We will also create friends and my posts. Ooh, I've got a lot of features to program. Well, actually, first of all, we want a view. Style sheet. Style equals styles.container, and then we'll just say text is one. Okay, we'll copy this into both friends. And into feed. Feed, and then back to layout. Feed. Friends is friends. And then my posts is my posts. And finally, component equals page map of cur page. And then this becomes cur component. Wait. Const. And that should put us at feed. Yes, okay, that does put us at feed. And now our footer, this is just going to accept a as props cur page, which is a page name, and then set cur page. I know it's prop drilling a bit, but we're going fast. What is the value of set cur page? A set state action of page name. Da da da. Ah, it says it in terms of index. Okay, well. And this is supposed to be a number? Right, okay. So if it's numbers, then why is it number? Why does it have to be numbers? Because now I've got to translate it between numbers and not numbers.
There's no way to have like named or
Yeah, it's not hard to do, just a little annoying. They're all, yeah. Oh, it does have title. Selected index, but it's still numbers. It's still all just numbers. All right. So now I have to do like all right. I'll say like we've got a nav map, which is a record of page name to something that contains the icon name, which is just a string. It will also contain the, or actually it's not a record. It is an array of page name, which is a page name, and then it also has an icon name. And then we will render this array. So the page name is going to be feed, and its icon name is going to be film outline. Page name is friends. Icon name is people outline. Page name is my posts. Icon name is list outline. Okay. And then inside of here, we are just doing.
Do you want to call it nav map if it's an array?
Right. Tab data. So tab data dot map. We'll take in the page name and the icon name, and we don't even need page name in this case, and we return one of these, and we just provide icon name here. Oh, actually I do want page name for the key. All right. Okay, so that does that. We don't need, and then on select we get an index. So our selected index is use memo of cur page. Cur page is going to be provided. We also want to pass in the footer props. And okay, so we do tab data dot index of, or not index of dot find index. Page name is equal to cur page. That will be the index, and this is the selected index. Then let's say on select is use callback So we get the index here, and we'll say that set cur page dot is of tab data index dot page name. And oh yeah, that's right. Index is a number. On select. Expression is not callable. Am I sure about that? Did I set this type correctly? Oh, it's a dispatch of that. I see. So I also need dispatch here. And now this expression is callable. Dope. And in main layout, we want to say cur page is cur page, and then set cur page is set cur page. Cool. Now, if we go back here, loads up, logs us in, has a problem. Built-in components, React JSX. Did I accidentally do a .ts? No? Warning, JSX type is invalid. Oh, it doesn't like EVA icons again. Am I running it? Okay. Oh, I included something that it doesn't like. Let's find out what. Is it this guy? Okay, that was not it. Is it the footer? Okay, there's something about the footer it doesn't like. Da, 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 da. Oh, people outline is not a real name. Is that it? Wait. Did I re-include the footer? I did. Oh, I didn't save it.
So what's the current page? I see you have a page name type. What is it? Oh yes, it breaks.
Person.type.sum is not a function. Oh, that's because I yeah, this is not yet working. So in root, I should get rid of this. Okay. Sorry, what were you asking?
No, nothing. It works already. Never mind.
Nice. Friends, my posts. Cool. We're all working now. And in mobile, it looks fine.
Ta-da!
Ta-da. Oh, but why is it still showing the login button when it should be logged out? Oh, sorry. Oh, because it says login specifically. Right. So we do this, we're loading, and then, yeah, now we've got a log out button. Cool. Okay. So our first step is now that we've got basically the layout, we want to create and list all of my posts. I think that that's a logical first step because we aren't able to create any posts, that we aren't able to view any of the posts on our feed if we aren't able to list it all. Cool. I will, yeah, I'll do that as a next step. I'm going to make some tea first, and then I will be right back.
Right, see you in a bit.
See ya. All right, we are back. I've got tea. Oh, I never muted the other chat, so you might have heard me chewing. Elf Pavlik. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to see. Let's first perfect this function here, the prepare profile function. Uncomment it, figure out what's going wrong with it. So it says person.type.sum is not a function. Oh, you know what? This should only be triggered once logged in. Oh wait, actually, no, that's fine. Yeah. .sum is not a function. If the person is, okay, so it doesn't like this. Well, if there's no type for the person, then that's fine. Okay, does adding that question mark fix our problem? Nope. So this is the line that we're dealing with. What is person.type here? Person.type is a proxy. The target of that proxy is it's not an array. Why is this not an array? It should be an array. This should be a person shape type. Context. Type, okay. Yeah, okay, so it says that type is not an array. But type should be an array. Am I just going to need to manually modify that, or? Yeah, I think that this goes into one of the glitches I know with the generators. So we're just going to manually modify this so that at container is of at set. And this should get rid of that problem. Okay, so it did a thing. Did it successfully modify the card? So it said profile card, and its request was to insert the type as a person, and it gave a following. Awesome. Dope. Okay, cool. So we now have that. So it's set up everything. Now for this here, for my posts, we are going to want to go in and go into all of the outbox items and just list them out. Everything in the outbox. Okay. So what actions do we have? Use create post, use find people, use follow person, use load feed, and then yes, use outbox.ts. And instead of use load feed, we'll say just use feed. And that's going to return the feed. And the outbox is going to return a array of what? What did we determine it was going to return an array of? Or it was in my notes. Okay, so we'll have a use following, a use outbox, and use following. So use outbox is going to return an array of items, but what is the exact type of that item? Remember that we planned this out in Lucidchart. This diagram. Right, so it's an ordered collection of documents. Okay. Ordered collection of posts.
Does AES have a subtype of object post?
Does, yeah, probably, right? I guess we didn't necessarily plan that out. So there's an ordered collection. Let's see. Activity stream. Terms. Okay, what do we have? There's an activity collection ordered. So I guess it's some kind of activity, perhaps. Or maybe
Or object could be also subtype of object.
Object and link types. Aha. So this is a video. Might have a name, it has a URL. Really all I care about is the URL. Okay, so it has of type video. So what this is going to return is, I guess I'll also give it a name. Video, what's it called in here? Once I generate the typings, it is called a, wow, we sure did mention video a lot, don't we? we go. Video type. It's just called video. Cool. So this is just a video. An array of videos. That's what our use outbox is going to be. Let's see. Import from /.ldo/activity_pubs typings, and we just want video. All right. So an array of videos is what use outbox is going to return. And what that is going to do is, first we need the session from use solid auth. And it has a web ID. It gets the so that has a the session has a web ID. Then it needs to get the outbox. Which we will say use memo. The memo will trigger whenever session.webid is different. If not session.webid, then return null. We don't have an outbox. Yes. Okay.
Is there null or empty array here?
I guess we could do, yeah, let's do, so we're returning this item, and then we return empty array because we don't have anything. If const outbox is, well, actually, no, I want to be able to subscribe to the outbox if it ever changes. So actually, I want to do yeah, we'll return null here. I'll yeah. So this is so that the UI dynamically updates. Because later on, what I'm going to be doing is outbox is, so actually what we want is the outbox URI specifically, and that's a string, and that way that will let us do outbox equals use subject outbox URI. So we'll have an outbox resource is use resource outbox URI. Oh wait. Yeah, I think that's fine. So outbox URI is a string. Technically, it's a leaf URI. LDO doesn't have leaf URI? Oh no,
Solid.
actually,
I think it's
solid
LDO
LDO.
solid.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we first need to get the outbox URI, which is going to be gotten through doing outbox this is going to be the person equals let's get this, and we'll get get subject of and the shape type is going to be a person shape type, and the subject is going to be session.webid. So that gets us the person.outbox of app ID. So that is going to be the outbox URI. And let's just log that just to be sure that everything's fine. And we want to use subject of a ordered collection shape type. And that's what outbox is. Yes. So every time, this is essentially whenever the web ID updates, look for a new outbox URI, then get the outbox. Right. Cool. Let's see if that works. Okay. I'll just return empty for now. Right. Okay, that all should be fine. And this as leaf URI. Okay, there we go. There was some casting going on there. Right, so I actually don't call this at all. So I need to call it when I am on this page. Use. I want to call it when I am on the My Posts page. Use outbox. Actually, use outbox. I could make this a little bit better by, instead of using the session, having you pass this in. Now we have person URI. We get rid of the session, and we can guarantee person URI always exists. Okay. Cool. So we've got that. We got rid of the session, which means that now we want to, on my posts. We want to provide the session to this. Well, actually, I'll say that this is optional, and I will add back in the if not person URI, then return undefined. Hey, Charlie. Aw, Charlie, what's up? Hello. Oh, he's doing a nice spin. Okay, that's a bit better. And now we will provide the session, use solid auth, session.provide. Okay, well, use outbox, I guess, instead of that. It'll accept string. Just to make that a little bit nicer. String or undefined is not essential. But I updated it. Wait, what did I change? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this will get the posts. This will trigger that. Okay. So now, if I reload this, let me also go to posts. Let me just go to the UI for footer and make, or sorry, UI for main layout, and make the default my posts. Just so that it's easier to get to this to debug. Okay. And when white, that means that there is, I guess, some kind of problem. But what? What is the problem? Oh, it seems to not even be authenticating. Okay.
Maybe Matthias' server's down.
Do you think so? No, seems fine at least right now. Let me see if I can do a login. Yeah, seems fine. Okay, it's doing a token exchange, JWKS, and then I get a failure. Person.outbox is undefined. Okay. Let's see.
Did you add it to the WebID profile on that account?
I should have, but maybe there's some load problems because it's doing this in the wrong order. It's trying to look for person.outbox before it has even fetched everything.
Okay.
So that is because here in root, I don't actually, I do this, but this should return, like, this should return something when everything's done. So I could do like completed setup. And at the end of this, to true. Okay, and this is returning a Boolean. Why did I return a use async effect? Weird. Okay. So now this does all the loading here, so I need to then go here, and actually I don't want to do this. Okay, I'll put this in main layout then. Inside of main layout, it's doing checks for this. Completed profile setup. Sorry. Completed profile setup. So if you completed the profile setup, then you can go ahead and only if you completed the profile setup can you display everything else. Okay, and then we'll have everything loaded in. Okay. All right. Yep. That looks to be. This looks to be the outbox. Dope. Okay. So now that we have the outbox. Okay. So we got the outbox. The next thing that we need to do is we need to get the resources of the outbox, or like load them up. Okay. So we'll use a use effect for that, and that will cascade in outbox dot. What was items, right? Outbox dot items is so outbox dot items dot for each. Sure. So there is an item in the outbox. That item has a has an ID. And let's go use LDO. We're going to get resource.
Item ID?
Yeah. Okay.
The exclamation
This is-
mark, I guess. Yeah, I've created issue for.
Okay, so we've got a resource, and then we do item resource dot read. We don't need to await that because everything's just going to, once it's loaded, everything will work out fine.
How do you handle errors on it?
True. Then Okay, so all right. So now we have done this. We have loaded everything up, and then I think that we can actually, what we should return instead of a list of videos is we should return the outbox itself. Yes, which is a ordered collection. Right. And now if we just return the outbox, which could be undefined, so we'll do that.
I don't think you can do that because outbox is a Leo object, no?
Yeah. So the reason why outbox could be undefined is because use subject. If this outbox URI is undefined, it will return undefined. So the only time that it's undefined is when the URI is undefined, and the only time the URI is undefined is when we are doing this up here. We're waiting for the ID. For the outbox
So
ID.
I think you just the whole function needs to also return undefined because I don't see any other options here. Like empty object doesn't make sense. It has to be outbox. So
Oh wait,
I think it would be your ordered
be
collection or undefined.
Yeah, you're right. It should be an ordered collection. Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, and turns out we don't need the resource. We do want to do use resource because that's going to actually load up everything. Okay. So that is theoretically the outbox. So let's go to set up the UI for my posts. And we'll just do a for now. Okay, what do we want? We want a list of things that show the name of the post. Sorry, I'm getting up and stretching a little bit. We want to show the name of the post, and we want to. We want to show the name of the post and maybe just a delete button so that you can delete things. Or maybe for this first version, I don't even need a delete button. We'll just show the name of the post.
Yeah, I think it doesn't make sense to deal with delete or edit or anything now. Just publish and that's it.
All right. So let's do. We have this view. At the top of the view, we'll have a button, and this button, which came from this button here. Upload new video. So we'll have a button to upload a new video and to create a name for that video. Yes.
Is the name required on the shape or is it optional?
It's optional, but I was just thinking like if we have this feed that lets us see all the videos, then or all the videos that I've uploaded, how do I know which video is which?
I mean, you will see some kind of thumbnail, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Am I able to fetch thumbnails from videos? Like if I just have a video file, can I fetch a thumbnail from it? Just like a file on a solid server, can I just say, "Hey, return to me"?
You said you had some app that was making thumbnails. How did you do it there?
That was there was a back end thing that was just taking in the video and
Okay.
processing it.
There's no JavaScript library that would take a thumbnail from the video that you have like in memory.
That works in the web browser.
Yeah.
Maybe there is, but that sounds like work to put.
Or
into a
just start
thumbnail.
playing the video. Just download the video and start playing it and
Yeah,
pause
just
it or
have the
something
first
like
frame.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think that the title it could be actually just annoying. Like many people don't want to think how to name the video; they just want to post it and not necessarily worry about naming it. And then you have to have the input. Like I don't know. I think it may be
Yeah.
easier not to even bother with the
you know,
title.
for now, maybe I won't even have the list of videos that you've uploaded. Really, the most important thing is the button that says upload new video. So on upload. Okay. And now here's the time that I have to remind myself how this works. So let me go to GitHub and remind myself how this works. I'm doing this off screen. Let's see, we need upload document, get document async from Expo document picker. That's what I need. Okay, we are going to install Expo document picker. And we are going to use that here in my posts. So we are going to const choose document. So you are going to be able to choose one video document. And this gives us the chosen document. And then do some error checking. If not, then we display error. Message. New error. Document upload problem. Sure. What is up with this? Type does not exist on document picker result. It doesn't? Document picker result gives us interesting. They seem to have updated the interface. So let's take a look at what do they have some example code? Oh, it looks like I also need to provide some Expo plugins. Expo plugins. Plugins is an array. Do they have any sample code? Import blank as document picker. So we got installation. Man, they don't want to give me sample code, do they?
Maybe if you just search online, you will find someone else publishing example.
Yeah. Output is a file list. Type URI name size. Well, this is the old version where type equals success. See if anyone else is complaining about the lack of documentation for this. Blah, blah, blah. It's an issue with Visual Studio. What? Yeah, well, it looks like it's canceled instead of type. So I guess I'll just... Actually, we don't need to do an error if it was canceled. We'll just return. And then, let's say, can I get the MIME type?
I guess first output you have multiple false. I guess output would have one element. Wasn't that output? There was some example using output.
Somewhere here? I think that... So it looks like the new output is a file list, and then there's a document picker asset. And an asset, the document picker asset has a name, a size, a URI, a MIME type. So it looks like that's what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah, so and because we are restricting it to only one upload with multiple false, I guess we'll do assets 0. And that's the asset. And then asset dot, okay, so we have the MIME type. So now we can try uploading the media. Okay. Let me see how this is done. No. Okay, so this is in here, story, use asset utils. It should be in shared. Here we go. Got it. Okay. All right, so now comes the question. We have the outbox. We have the outbox. You shouldn't be allowed to upload without an outbox. If not outbox, then display error, new error, cannot upload without an outbox. Then we choose the document. Now comes the question, where are we putting this document here? Where are we creating a folder to put this document?
For now, you can just hard code whatever, you know, because you don't use any type indexes or data registrations or anything, so it's pretty much wherever you want to put it for now.
Yep, we can put it in. What did we do here? Where did we put the? We created a child of root result. I see. I see. Okay. So I could put it at the root.
So I think one thing to keep in mind, and that's also one of the reasons I want to use like a throwaway storage, that you don't want to make too much mess in people's storage.
Mm-hmm.
So if they at some point want to delete all the data that was created with that app, probably should like make it easy for them. Just if they say, okay, I played with it, now I want to delete the data, that they can easily delete the data.
Yeah. Okay. I'll create a new thing called use app container. Function use app container, and this will be like the container that our app is in. Right. And that this is going to return a container. And in fact, yeah, no, I think that this is fine. we have okay, this is going to be a container, and then I will just get the web ID. So everything depends on the web ID.
What do you think about doing it in a step where you create the outbox itself? This kind of bootstrapping step. What do you think about creating that in the bootstrapping step?
Where you create the outbox?
Yeah,
so technically,
pretty much.
technically, this will have everything's going to be cached. So any logic that I put in here isn't actually going to perform any fetches. So this is just going to be a helper function that gets the app container. And then I could use that helper function inside of this prepare the outbox. Like instead of doing this, I could use this function.
Okay, makes sense.
In fact, probably should just copy or actually, so we have the profile resource, and then yeah. So we're basically just doing this again. Every time session.webid changes.
So in a profile resource, you can check if it's fetched already, no?
So if it is already fetched, then it won't fetch again unless I explicitly tell it to.
Okay.
There's an ignore cache flag, but the default is not fetching it. Okay, we do a get resource of session web ID. If not, okay, and then we do. Okay, use memo. Right. Use memo is not the right one for this, so we have we're doing if there's a session.web ID, then that, then okay, so this, we get the profile, and then root container is get profile resource dot get root container. This returns a promise. This is an await, but you can't do an async memo. So this should be a use async effect. set state container or undefined. So we start out as undefined set container or container set container. Okay. We get the root container. All right, this is now async. We get the root container, and then we say app container is root container dot child. Oh, because root container might be an error. If root container dot is an error, display error of root container. Otherwise, dot. Oh. Why don't you like that? Use state. Root container dot, there we go, dot child is and then we'll make the child like just swipe, and that will be the app container. So now set container.
So the child is like creating a new child, or
Yeah, but
if
it
exists,
doesn't
how
it doesn't
it-
actually talk to the pod. It's just like, here's conceptually a new child. You want to, if you want to actually talk to the pod, then you can say create an overwrite, create child and overwrite, or create child if absent. Those are the two methods that actually do it on a pod.
Yep.
So this is just saying, hey, here's a representative of the container. Okay, and then that returns container. So now we can use this function whenever we want to get that app container. Cool. Okay. So I will use that function later on with this, but I think that I'm going to take a break from streaming and come back and work on my own here.
Yeah, you made some good progress on this stream.
Yeah, made some good progress. I'll see if I can just go heads down and complete it tonight. Complete as much as I can tonight, so that I can submit it on Monday.
Yeah, I also will take a break and work a little bit today, and I will complete tomorrow because, yeah, I don't think I'll be pushing so hard.
Yeah. Have you been coding this whole time?
Yeah, over last days, yeah.
Oh, I thought
not like whole time. I told you.
During this
Oh,
stream.
not here. No. I was fully. I think it's so distracting to focus on my code and your code. I think it would be. I'd rather just take opportunity to see how you do it and just learn from that, and maybe take some patterns that you use to what I'm doing. But I think it's too much to code two different things at the same time.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. I will see you later then. All right.
All right. Take care. Good luck with finishing it up today.
Awesome. Cool. Hey,
Take care.
I lost a subscriber during this stream. That's cool.
Oops.
Oops. Oh well.
It happens. That's life.
It happens. All right. I'll see you.